Hello, everyone, and welcome to Simply Spirit. My name is Jen, and tonight we're going to be talking about the Akashic Records. Now, I know I've heard a lot of people say that they either can't access their own Akashic Records or they don't feel that. Hi, Sharon. How are you? How are you doing? Did you have a good weekend? Hi, Shannon. Hi, Greg. Some people feel that it's not okay to access somebody else's Akashic records. Hi, Robin. Yay, I'm so glad you made it too. They feel that, they should only access their own. Some people do readings for other people and help them with their Akashic records and receive messages and deliver messages for them. And it's something that I actually do, and I don't have a problem with that. So, tonight, hi, Devin. Hi, sister. How are you? What are the Akashic records? Let's start with that. The Akashic records is basically like the soul's imprint of the past, the present, and the future. That's kind of how I like to look at it. And I guess an easy explanation is like when you're in a haunted location or even in your house, like everybody leaves an imprint in places they've lived, in places they've worked, that kind of thing. And so that's kind of how I view the Akashic records, is that it's just that. So the term Akashic comes from the Sanskrit word Akasha, which means sky or ether. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a background, some little bit of the history. I could go really deep into the history, but we won't for this show, anyways. So the Akashic records can help with many things. It can help you to heal the past. It can help you with the future. It can also help you with things that are going on currently in your life. So, for example, hi Laura, how are you doing? So, for example, if you have a fear of something, let's take you have a fear of water, or you have a fear that you're going to drown, but you have no reason to fear that in this lifetime. So, one of the things that you can do is go to the Akashic Records, look back into the Akashic Records, and is there a point in time in your life, in your past life, that you actually did drown? Maybe you didn't heal from that and you brought it forward into this lifetime. So that's something that, that's one of the things that it can help you with. It can help you learn about relationships that you have currently now in this lifetime, or that you've had in the past, or even future relationships that you're going to have down the line. It can help identify those connected to you. Again, it goes back to those relationships. You can identify who those people are, but it also helps you to connect to your guides. Like, we all have many, many guides, and that's one of the things that you can do with the Akashic Records. Some people always ask, well, how can I get to know my guides? How do I know who my guides are? This is one of the ways that you can do that. Now, meditation is another way that you can connect to your guides and get to know them. But the Akashic Records, you can also ask that same question. Who are my guides? That kind of thing. So we already covered that one. It can help you identify patterns that you need to change. So, for example, if you do something constantly over and over and over and you still don't understand why or where that comes from, again, it's just like, that fear that you have of something, even though it makes no sense, no reason why. You can access those Akashic records to find out if that has something to do with the past life, and help you can shift that to where you can break that habit. Again, you can connect with guides and angels. You can see what the future holds. And if you like what you see, then it can help you to plan different things, like set your goals, set your intentions, that kind of thing, so that you can achieve those goals. But if it's something that you don't like, if let's say that you're asking for, about a job or a career or whatever, you have something specific in mind, but you're seeing something else and it's not something that you really want, then if it's not something that's fixed, like meaning it's a lesson that you need to learn, then you can actually shift that and create the life that you want. It's really good for helping with that. So the Akashic Records, think of it this way. You have things that you can change in life, and there are things that you can't change in life. So you have fixed and evolving. And the way that I like to describe this is by thinking of the tarot cards. If you're familiar with tarot, then you'll understand this. In tarot, there are the major arcana and the minor arcana. And the major arcana are lessons that we need to learn in this lifetime, and there's really no budging those or moving them any way, shape, or form. Whereas the minor arcana, they're not set in stone. So we can actually do things to shift it. Like if we get a reading and we don't like the way it's going, the minor arcana is we can actually shift and change that, and then it becomes a different outcome. But if we do like where it's going, then we can kind of keep the same path, doing the same things, and that's the outcome that we'll have. So the Akashic Records, believe it or not, has been around for basically since the beginning of time. It goes back to both the Old Testament and the New Testament. And the Old Testament, you'll hear it called the Book of Living. The Book of the Living, I guess, is a better way. And in the New Testament, you're going to hear it called the Book of Life. But let's go back even a little bit more. Let's go forward, I guess. For us, it would be going back, but I guess if you're talking from biblical times, it would be going forward. So the way that we learned about the Akashic Records and how we know it today actually was done in like the 1800s. And that person that started talking about these, started researching them, writing about them, everything else, was I will get it right here in a minute. H.P. Blavatsky. He's the founder of the Theosophical Society. And then there was another man around the same time, Rudolf Steiner, and even somebody else, Alfred Percy Sonnet, and hopefully I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I apologize for that one. He actually wrote the Esoteric Buddhism, which defined the Akashic Records. And that was in the 1800s as well. All three of these men wrote stuff in the 1800s on this. And then there's somebody else that we all know that we hear a lot of great information about that has a big part in the things that we know today, and that's Edgar Cayce. Now, by today's standards, he would actually be considered a medical intuitive. Simply because when he did his readings for people, and there were certain things that he would always do, which is really fascinating. And if you ever want to know more about him, look him up, because it's just amazing what you can learn about Edgar Cayce. But he would give his advice when it came to a person's health. He would offer advice on cures and other health suggestions. So that was huge, and it still is today, I guess. So even before the Akashic Records became a popular concept, the Buddhists had the same concept, but they called it Allah consciousness, which means unending information. And scientists describe this consciousness as something that exists but changes as we change and shift, which is so true. I mean, we all have free will. So one minute we can be doing one thing and thinking of something else, and we can kind of shift that. So that's kind of, if you think of it that way, that's really what the Akashic Records are, even though they hold all of the information about us from every lifetime that we've lived, everything that we've ever done, ever experienced, every thought, everything that we do now, and everything that we will do in the future. So there are many ways that you can access your Akashic Records too. But before I go into that, I'm going to share with you my own personal story of an Akashic Record. And the Akashic Records, I didn't know at the time that's what I was accessing or trying to access. So years ago, as a kid, I would dream about this house. And when I would see this house, I could see the outside of the house. I could see all the stuff around it, whether it had trees and plants and flowers and all the things that was there, right? But I could never go inside. Like, all I could do was go around in a circle. And then as I got older, I would dream. So I've always dreamed about this house. I still dream about this house. I was able to go inside, but only on the first level. I could never go to the second level of this house. And it was just, it had, I mean, there was a lot of energy in this house. Like on the second floor, there was just, it was a really strong energy in it, but it wasn't something that I could access. But it was almost like it was like a haunted type of house type of feeling. But then as a kid, everything seems like that, right? So then years later would go by, and then I was finally able to go into the second level. And on this second level were all of these rooms, and I could describe each and every room. They all had bright colors, except there was one room that had a glass wall. And that was so fascinating. I mean, it's still fascinating to see that. Now, this doesn't end just there, it keeps going. So there's another house that's connected to that, which I have not been into the other house as much as I have this one. So that's something else that I can explore. But that's actually one of the ways that you can access your Akashic Records, and maybe you have and you haven't even realized it, is by your dreams. So how many of you have had a dream and it feels like you are receiving information, but you're not sure where it's coming from? It doesn't feel like it's coming from your guides or loved ones, but you know it's coming from somewhere. How many of you have accessed your Akashic Records, and how did you go about doing it? I mean, if you want to type that into the comments, that would be awesome, because I know you can't talk to me here, unfortunately, but it would be awesome to hear your thoughts on that. So another way that you can access the Akashic Records is meditation. And meditation is a huge thing. Meditation is something that, in order to be able to do a lot of things. Oh, hi everyone. Oh, yeah, okay. I don't think Jake would have scared me at all. Hi everyone. Cats and dogs living together. Yes, I agree. I agree. Yeah, Devin, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep, Shannon, it sure is. It's a reoccurring dream that you have all the time, and you really just don't, it doesn't make any sense to you at all. And that's what happened with me. Like, I had no idea I had anything to do with the Akashic Records or anything else. And it took me a long time. And then when I started to learn about the Akashic Records, everything just kind of fell into place. So, yeah, so that was really cool. But meditation. So there are many different ways that you can meditate. You can meditate by using a mantra, focus on a word, using a candle as something to focus on. And when your focus starts to go away, you bring it back to that. Your breath, putting things in a basket's always really good. Going for a walk, if you want to do a walking meditation, that's always good. But find what works for you. There are many different ways, and not everybody can meditate doing the same thing. Yes, Sharon, that's awesome. That is awesome. So, have you tried finding out more about this house and this woman? Oh my gosh, it sounds exactly like the house that I dream about all the time. And Scotty, I know I've told you about this house where the people are in it and things. And Sharon, it would be interesting to see if this isn't part of your Akashic Records too. Hi Robin, how are you doing? I would be curious to see if it was. I mean, do you have that dream often, or is it just random when you have it? I mean, that might be something to think about. What are you doing when you have that dream? I mean, after you have the dream, think about the day before. What were you doing? What were you thinking about? Was there something particular? And maybe journal that a little bit, and maybe you can start to see a pattern. Yes, she is. She is her BFF. I think we've all claimed Robin for that. We just love her. And we love her little dog, Hope. Of course we do. Anyways. So when we go back to dreams, I mean, even Paul McCartney had a dream where he was talking to his mom, and that's actually where the song Let It Be came from. He woke up from that and realized that it was more than just a dream. And then the other dream that he had was when is where the song Yesterday came from. He woke up from this dream, and the melody seemed familiar, but he didn't know why, and so he did a lot of research on it and found out that the song hadn't been written or the melody wasn't out there, and that's where that song came from, which is quite interesting, which kind of ties into the Akashic Records. So he was accessing that in his sleep and was getting downloads of information to help him with his career during this lifetime, which is really neat. It's a house I find that I really love, but once going in there, I knew she's there and I run away. Huh. That's really interesting. Is it just because of her energy, you think, Sharon? That might be something that, Scotty, you can help her with. I know you're really good at deciphering these dreams. But I would be curious as to why you run away. I mean, is there another feeling that you have? I mean, do you just, is her energy just really strong, or um hi Nida. Huh. Yeah, I would be, that's interesting. I would love to know what that connection is. So, um definitely, I Sharon, I would definitely ask Scotty about that, because that's something I know that he's really good about doing, is helping you figure out these dreams. Um, oh, you're afraid of her. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you. Hmm. You're afraid of her and she's after you. Maybe it's time to face that fear. You know, we always fear something until we put our foot down, so to speak, and then after we do that, we get rid of the fear. It's kind of facing it head on. Um, I would definitely love to connect with you more on that, Sharon, and see if we can't figure that out, because I would really love to know on that. Um, so what else do you need to know about? Hi, Rose. How are you doing? No, we haven't talked in a while. We haven't talked in a while at all. Feel free to reach out anytime. So, some people can access their Akashic Records right away. We will get to talk, Sharon. Absolutely. I will definitely talk to you more about this in detail, and we'll see if we can't figure this out together and find out why you fear her and why you feel she's after you. So this very well could have something to do with a past life or something, maybe, or a fear that you had as a child. So we'll definitely explore that a little more and see if we can't figure that out. So, um, so some of the other ways, or some people can access the Akasha Records on the first try, and others, you know, have a harder time accessing those. And the way to kind of look at it is just like when you are having your spiritual awakening, you know, you have to do things in a certain order in order to be able to figure things out. And this is the same way. Just because you can't access it right away doesn't mean that you're not ever going to be able to access it. It just means that right now it's not the right time for you. Just like when I tried to access mine, it oh, I love you too, Devin. My recurring is not a place but a moment over and over, so may not be the same. You never know, Missy. I'm sure that has a connection to your mom. You relive certain moments over and over. But I'll definitely talk to you about that too. It could be that. No, Lowland, you're not late at all. You are not late. We are still talking about the Akashic Records. So if you have any thing that you'd like to share, please do. I'd love to hear if you've accessed your Akashic Records and what that was like for you. Was it easy for you? Did you like what you've seen or what you saw? Boy, I can't even speak. Typical Jen. So, um, if you can't access your Akashic Records right away, just keep in mind that, you may not be ready for that. There are a lot of things that you may need to do in order to do that. And, oh, honey, it's fine, Shelly. You are perfectly on time. We are still talking about the Akashic Records, so you're good. As I was telling everyone else, if you have had an experience with Akashic Records and you would like to place that in the comments, please do. We're kind of sharing those stories. Um, Two guards. I sense they want something from me, but I don't understand what they're saying. One of the things that you can try, Kat, is to maybe ask them to slow down a little bit, and or ask your guide, see if they can help you with that to where you can understand what they're saying. Um, yeah, you can message a specific question. If I can't answer it on the live, I will definitely answer that after the live is over. Hi, Amanda. Um, just ends at the same point. Okay, so something that is ending at the same point means that my interpretation of that is that you haven't figured out what the first part of it is, and you need to learn that first part first before you move forward to get to the others. Just as I had to take my time and learn that first floor before I could go any farther, you might need to do the same. When you're ready, you'll be able to access the rest of the information. You have a huge square building, 10 stories, open inside, Texas growing, trees growing in center. Wow, that's really cool. And what do you feeling do you get from that, Rose? Oh, I would never put it on the feed. I would never answer it on the feed. If you send me a PM, I would answer it in a PM. If you want to type it in here, I will do my best to answer it in this chat. Yes, a library. Yeah, that's kind of what my Akashic record looks like too. It's just rows and rows and rows of books. And I'm always drawn to one specific book that I need to go pull at the time when I'm accessing that. So, um, I love that you have trees growing in the center, Rose. That's really cool. That is really cool. It kind of reminds me of where I live because our courthouse has an actual tree growing out of the top, and that's exactly what that reminds me of. Okay, okay, listen, no problem, not a problem at all. Okay, sounds good. Um, so when you're ready to access your records, some of the things, yeah, I absolutely do. When I go inside, I am led to where I need to go. It's kind of interesting because it's even when I go to access anybody else's Akashic records, which I do them for people too, is I'm always meeting them somewhere and I never know where I'm meeting the actual person. But the people always have a key already, but they just don't know how to use the key, or they're just not getting the permission to enter the Akashic records for whatever type of reason it might be. And sometimes I think it might just be overwhelming for them to go, so it's easier to have somebody else to access their records for them and deliver that information that's needed. But it always starts out somewhere, and then along the way, there's a lot of different messages. There's a lot of different things tree is watered by the springs. Yes. That's really cool, Julie. Um, 4 of us living here and we're all handicapped. Everything we bring here breaks. I don't understand about records. The Akashic Records, Lynn, is about past lives that you've lived, and it might be able to answer some of the things that's going on in your life now. And it also can give you information about things that are going to happen in the future. So there's a lot of different things that you that the Akashic Records can access. Chelsea, honey, we're talking about the Akashic Records. I'm actually not doing readings right now. That might be something I do in the future, though. Exactly, Rose. Some can't get in. For whatever reason, they can't get into the Akashic Records. But if you are ready to... Okay, Shelly, absolutely. I think, yeah, I saw that you had texted, or I just heard the phone go off, so I'm assuming that was you texting me the question. Not a problem. I will get to that question. Not a problem. So, one of the things that you can do when you want to access your Akashic Records is to figure out what you want to know. What is the question? Like, choose 1 or 2 questions that you have. Because if you have like a lot of questions, you might get a little confused and overwhelmed by all the answers that you might get. And even the first time that you access your Akashic Records, you might just want to kind of explore and see what's there. And take note of any... Oh, thank you, Terry. I love you too. I love you too. Take note of anything that you see, anything that you're feeling when you're in the Akashic Records. What does it look like? What does it smell like? Pay attention to the colors and the textures and anything else that you might experience while you're there. Sometimes you'll meet guides along the way. Sometimes you'll meet spirit animals along the way. And then even once you're there, even if you don't have a question, you're going to see different rooms, or at least I do. When I access my Akashic Records or anyone else's, I actually see the different rooms, and the doors that are open to these rooms, when I walk in, it actually takes me to one of their past lives. And so I get a lot of information from these past lives, and you will too. You will see what you did in a past life, how you lived, how you died. I mean, there's a number of different things you'll learn if you had children, or if you were married, or what career you had, what time period it was. Because sometimes you can live in many different areas. Like sometimes I've had people who have lived in England, and then they've lived in France, and then they've lived in Belgium, and they've done all types of things. Now, most people think that they're always a king or a queen. Now, I really haven't had that. I haven't seen that. Most people have real life, everyday, average jobs. And so that's kind of what I'm being shown. Now, I have been giving a lot of information for these people that I pass on to them. And a lot of times they also get information about what's holding them back in this lifetime. Sometimes they do have a lot of things from their past life that they've brought into this life that they haven't dealt with. And so once they begin to deal with the issues in this lifetime, then all of those things go away and it stops, and they're able to move forward. So those are something that you can think about when you are going to access the... Hi, Jason. How are you? So this way you can... when you access those. So something else that you might find is that you are giving an object or a crystal or whatever it happens to be while you're in the Akashic Records. And you can always bring that back with you. And if you want to purchase that item, let's say it's a crystal quartz, and you want to purchase that crystal quartz. So purchase that and just carry that with you. Now, the item does not hold the magical power, right? The item does not. It's just going to remind you that when you hold it, when you touch it, hey, it's going to take you back to that message from the Akashic Records, so you know what to do. Maybe you need some encouragement, and that crystal quartz is going to help you with that. Or maybe you were giving a key, and that key is to remind you that there are opportunities, and all you have to do is unlock the door and walk through it in order to be able to achieve whatever it is that you want. So there is no right or wrong when it comes to the Akashic Records. Now, the other thing too, when you have finished with your Akashic Records, when you have finished the meditation or your dream state, however it is that you've achieved going into the Akashic Records and reading your records, you might want to write down the things that you saw, things that you experienced, because these are going to be very important for you. And you can, with all of these, hi Kim, you can start to see a pattern. And once you start seeing a pattern, you can kind of pick those things out and see how it relates to what you're doing now. So just keep in mind that if there's something that you want to do, like if there's a goal that you have and you see it in your Akashic Records that's coming up in the future, you can actually start planning now to make that happen. Or if you see something that you don't like and you know that it's something that you can change, then you can shift your focus. You can shift how you do things and get to where you want to be. Instead of going left, you can go right, kind of thing. So some of you will actually see just a book. Like when you go into the Akashic Records, you're just going to see a book. Others will see an entire library, which is what I do. I see a large building. You may see a house. I do see houses. I do see buildings. Mine is a house. Other people's are buildings, and they all hold libraries, at least the ones I've been into. I have many rooms in these libraries, or in these houses, these buildings, and then there's one central location that has rows and rows and rows of books. And those are the ones that I just walk up and down the rows until the book pops out, and it's like, okay, this is the one I'm supposed to dive into. And that's really what I do for all of that. So does anyone have any questions about the Akashic Records at all? I know some of you were okay, yeah, Rose, I'll send you a message. I would love to hear more about your Akashic Record, your records too. Let's see. The lights on each story has plants growing on them from the opening. Is that for growth? I'm wondering, Rose. That's kind of what I'm getting. So, but yeah, those are the kind of things that I do when I access the Akashic Records. I'm just going to make sure that I've covered everything. I did have some notes so that I didn't forget anything that I wanted to cover. Again, I could have went on and on and on about the past. I mean, as far as like the history of the Akashic Records, but I wanted to keep this very short and sweet. One thing I will say about when you go to access your Akashic Records, throughout the day, if you're struggling to access your Akashic Records, is to do some deep breathing exercises, because that not only will release the stress and the tension in your life, but it will also clear your mind. I mean, and that's really the one thing that you need to do. And once you start to get into that feeling where you're feeling centered and feeling grounded by just your feet on the ground, it will start to help you with meditation and being able to access the Akashic Records. You know, with meditation, you're able to do so many other things, not just access the Akashic Records. You know, when you can clear your mind just by taking a few deep breaths, it clears your mind of whatever it is that was bothering you, so that you can focus and you can be clear and present and be able to green in a jungle. Okay, yeah, we will definitely talk later, Rose. So it clears your thoughts on all of this so that you're able to do a lot more things than what you actually think. And another thing that you can do is to visualize, if you're having a really stressful day, is to visualize everything, all the stress, all the negative energy, anything that's going on that is not in a positive manner, is just to visualize that all going down into Mother Earth. Just let it go. You can do this in the shower too if you happen to be home. That's one of the great things that you can do, is to stand in the shower and visualize this, all of this stuff just going straight down into the drain, and surrounding yourself with white light. This way you can be more focused, be more clear, be more precise. And that's the other thing too. If you're going to ask a question about the Akashic Records before you go into it, set your intention. You know, what is your intention? Are you going there to ask a question? Are you going there to meet a guide? And then ask your question, but be very specific. You know, you don't want to say, oh, I want to do this. No, wait, I want to do that. No, I want to do this. Be very clear and precise and specific. As you know, the universe will give you what you ask for. So if you are going to ask for something, ask for it. Be direct, be positive. Don't mix your words and confuse everything else. So, and then after that, be open to the information. You know, don't think, oh my gosh, I'm making this up, this doesn't make any sense, because when you do that, again, you're just throwing everything that you're doing right out the window. So be open to what you're going to receive and drop it down to heart space. And by dropping it down into heart space, you're going to get the truth. You know, when you think about the mind, you know, the mind can play tricks, if you want, on us. They can make you think one thing when it's really not. We start to go into the human mode, the human side of us, instead of the spiritual side. And in order to be able to access all of this stuff, you need to be into the spiritual side of things, which is where it comes into the heart space. And once you drop it down into the heart space, you're not thinking, you're actually feeling. And feeling is something that you need to do when it comes to the Akashic Records. You know, don't think it, don't overthink it. You know, get out of your own way when you start to do this. Thinking about things and trying to fit it into the box that you want to fit isn't going to work. You know, if you want the real nuts and bolts of the information that you're going to receive in order to have a better life and live your best life, then you need to kind of get out of your own way and let your guides and your team help you, because they know best when it comes to this. So that's all I have for this week. If there's not any other questions, the imagery for cleansing and grounding, yes, yeah, me too. It's something that I love doing, and it can be done anywhere. So if accessing through meditation, is there a guided sequence we can use? Absolutely, Devin. One of the things that you can do when it comes to meditation is taking a few deep breaths, clearing out all of the negative energy. You know, you're going to inhale and then exhale out all the negative. Inhale the positive, exhale the negative, and then really just grounding, just like you would a basic meditation. Before you begin any of your meditation, though, you do want to be very clear and specific about your question. You want to set the intention of what it is that you want to achieve. Then do your meditation. And you do it like you would any other meditation. There's nothing specific that you really have to do. Everybody is unique and different, so find what works for you. If it means starting from, you know, the bottom up, from, you know, growing roots down into the ground, and then working your way up through all of the chakras and you know, enclosing yourself in a bubble, then that's what you do. How is this compared to a past life regression? A past life regression is actually somebody else walking you through it. And you actually have somebody, normally you have somebody with you doing this past life regression. And you're only focusing on the past. You're not focusing on the future or the now. That's the difference. The Akashic Records, you can actually access what's happening right now in your life and what's going to happen in the future. Whereas the past life regression or a past life reading is only going to be your past lives that you've lived. And sometimes you only want to, um, Deb and I do the same thing. I do the same thing with your show all the time. Um, So yeah, but a past life regression is different than that because you're only accessing the past, not the future or the present, and that's really the difference with that, Sharon. And in a past life regression, you may only want to focus on this lifetime and not go past that lifetime. So, whereas on the Akashic Records, you can actually go into many lifetimes that you've lived. And a lot of times you do. A lot of times you will see more than one lifetime. You don't always just say, okay, well, I lived in Italy in 1784 and I did this. I was a teacher and I had 4 kids and I lived until I was 84, you know. You will see another past life instead of just your current one. Kim, one of the things that you can do is just to honor your mom. You know, give her, honor your mom in a lot of different ways. Like talk to her. I know it's not easy. I mean, I've lost my mom too. And it's never easy when you lose a parent. So one of the things that you can do is talk to her on a daily basis. And it's not going to be this like as if she's right there in front of you talking to you, but I promise you she will hear you. You can write her a letter if you have like unfinished business, so to speak. If you feel like you have unfinished business, because really we don't, but if you feel like you do, you can always write a letter to her, and I promise you she will know exactly what you are saying to her. Write down whatever it is that you need to say, and then you can put it in an envelope and put it in a safe place if you want. Setting up a little space for her where you can put some of her favorite things. So that's something that you could do, whether it be photos or trinkets that she might have loved. And it's a way of honoring her. It's a way of showing respect. And if you weren't there when your mom passed, that sometimes is one of the things that holds people back the most. And they fear that, or they don't really fear it, but they feel guilty about it because they weren't there. And the one thing to realize is that when we aren't at a place when somebody is passing, it's because we're not supposed to be there. We all are at the right place at the right time when we are meant to be. And sometimes it's not meant for us to say our goodbyes in that way. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't say your goodbye to your mom. You can still very much do that, but don't hold on to the guilt, because when you hold on to the guilt, that can make a difference between whether you can connect with her or not. Sometimes it can make it a little harder to receive those messages that you desperately need to hear from your mom. So I'll definitely talk to you more about that offline or off the show. So if anyone has any other questions, please let me know. You also dream of a certain house all the time. Every time I see the old homes on plantation, it makes me cry. I feel so lonesome and I want to go back like I left before I was supposed to. And Lynn, that's probably very true. You probably did live in on one of those plantations at some point in time. So, yeah, that's something that would be something that I would say that you might want to journal about and see what you come up with on that end. You're so welcome, Kim. Jen, can your intention for the day have multiple tasks in a meditation, or does the more you have lose the effect, like being patient, kind, brave, and follow our path compared to one or two? It can make it, I mean, you can have multiple tasks in a meditation, but it could make it a little bit more difficult, I think, for you to get a clear answer on what it is. Like if you have 5 or 6 different questions and you're trying to get an answer for each one of those, how do you know which one it's for? I mean, if you ask the first one, how do you know you got the answer for the fifth one? You know, unless it's something very specific. If they are very close, if the questions are very closely related, it might make it a little confusing. But if they're very specific, then I don't think it's going to be a problem on that. But again, it's going to it's going to come down to how you feel. If you're really good at meditating and you do this on a regular basis, and you're a seasoned, you know, at meditation, then it might not be a problem. But for somebody just starting out with meditation, it could become a little bit of a challenge to figure out which answer goes with which question. It might be a little much. And combining all those together, again, you know, if you're not really clear on your intention and your words that you're sending out into the universe, you may not get the right answer. Because you may be saying one thing and the universe is like, okay, well, he said this, but then he said this, so which is it? What are we doing here? So you may not get the answer that you hope for. If you do this every day, then and it works for you, then I would say continue to do it. If your messages are becoming very clear on every single one of your questions, then continue to do this, and I think it's totally fine. But, you know, again, if you're just starting out with meditation, I wouldn't recommend throwing too much out there and asking too many questions, because that could just really confuse somebody, and it can really frustrate somebody if they're not getting the answers that they think. So you're so welcome. You're absolutely welcome, Greg. So yeah, that is what I have for today. I do want to shout out some announcements. So first of all, I'd like to thank Greg and Devin for helping me with the show. They kind of help me monitor everything, and so I thank you so much for that. I truly appreciate that. Tomorrow we have our Psychics Unite meeting. It's at 6:30 Central Time, and there are many Facebook groups and pages. They are all public. Well, most of them are public. I shouldn't say that. Most are public. So if you want to check some of those out, if somebody can put the link in the description or in the comments, I would greatly appreciate that. So everybody knows. Thank you, Devin. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Kat. So everybody knows where they can go to tomorrow night for our meeting. And then on Tuesday on the Shadow Hunters Paranormal page, we have the amazing Sharon Moritz. She's going to be she's going to be doing some Oracle card readings, Oracle Tuesday. And thank you, Sharon. And then on Wednesday, we have Scotty Rourke, and he's going to be doing his Scotty Talks About, and he has an amazing guest. He always has amazing guests. Everybody always has amazing guests, right? And then also on Tuesday is Tina Marie Ronan's Illuminating the Paranormal, and her show is at 8 Eastern Standard Time. Sharon's is at 7 p.m. Central, and then Scotty's is at 7 p.m. Central, and it's on the Shadow Hunters page. And then on Thursday, we have Devin Evans with Truth Bumps on Shadow Hunters page. And then we also have Carly the Medium on her page. She's going to be doing some Oracle Thursday cards. And then on Friday, we have the Paranormal Genius, Mr. Greg Cayce, and his show is the Shadow Hour, and it is on the Shadow Hunters Paranormal page. And then again, next Sunday, we have my show, which is 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I want to thank everyone for being part of the show, and for all the amazing questions, and for all of you who have sent me questions and send me text messages. I will definitely be answering every single one of you. Feel free to send me other messages that you want if you have something that is private and you want to talk to me about. So if you want, if you're interested in a reading or anything else, you can go to my website, jenhodgson.com. I offer all types of readings, and I also teach and mentor those who want to develop their gifts or abilities as a psychic medium, as well as I teach Reiki. So on that note, thank you, Julie. Thank you so much. Devin, you are too, and I hope to have you on the show as well as Greg and everybody else. So, but anyways, thank you all for joining, and I'll see you next Sunday, same time, same channel. And until next week, have a great week.